I was sitting in a hotel room with my husband in Valencia, Spain. We had just seen our daughter in Ireland and then went to take a few days. And I was on a client call talking about coming in and, redoing some of their functions within their organization. And I turned to the right and I saw Sunnybrook Hospital on the phone. And something in me said, pick it up. Because usually I would have just let it go to voicemail. And I picked it up. And the words on the phone, which even today they rattle me in that sense, was, this is one of the hardest calls I've had to make. And that's how she responded to me, because she had been my doctor for over 10, 12 years. She had been with me through my journey of, losing my sister from cancer, being very concerned about if I was going to get it or not. So we had developed a great relationship.
Welcome to Unmute with Priya, the podcast where silence ends, voices rise, and women rediscover the freedom to speak and live authentically, especially in life after 40. This show is proudly sponsored by Project Icon. I'm your host, Priya Sudarsanam. Let's dive into today's conversation. Today's conversation is about what happens when life throws something at you that you never planned for. My guest today is Farla Efros, a Fortune 500 turnaround strategist who was diagnosed with aggressive cancer during a client call. Instead of approaching the diagnosis like most patients do, she approached it the same way she had spent decades fixing struggling companies, with strategy, leadership, and a willingness to question everything. Farla, welcome to Unmute with Priya.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, let's just dive in because there's a lot to talk about. The one thing that sticks out is that you were diagnosed with aggressive cancer on a client call.
Yes.
Yeah, just share a little bit about that journey. I'm sure you were going for tests and...
So what happened was I was part of the high risk program because I had my mom had previous cancer and my grandmother, so I was always getting monitored every 6 months, which was quite routine for me. And routinely they would see something and they would call back and do a biopsy.
Okay.
And it was always nothing, to be very honest. So it very much became a regular protocol for me.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in a hotel room with my husband in Valencia, Spain. We had just seen our daughter in Ireland and then went to take a few days. And I was on a client call talking about coming in and, redoing some of their functions within their organization. And I turned to the right and I saw Sunnybrook Hospital on the phone. And something in me said, pick it up. Because usually I would have just let it go to voicemail.
Yeah.
And I picked it up, and hearing those words that I had cancer, I froze. I thought it was a joke. And I kept saying, the one thing I kept saying on the phone was, but the mammogram was clear. And she said, it was the MRI that picked it up. And I kept saying, but the mammogram was clear. And the reality is that the mammogram is only 70% accurate. So I didn't know that, to be very honest. And it's kind of scary when you think about it, because we rely on those tests. And if you go yearly, you rely on them, and they're not as accurate as they should be. But obviously, given the lack of funding that we have within, if you're in Canada or if you're in the US, that's just the standard protocol. So it was a shock. And I was on vacation with my husband and we were meeting his father. And what did I do? I got up, I put on a dress, and we went for dinner.
Yeah.
And because I didn't believe it. Even today, Priya, I'm in denial.
How long ago was this?
It was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes, and I'm still going through treatment today.
Okay.
So I'm still in active treatment, and I'm obviously, from the chemo side, I'm past the chemo. But the reality is post chemo is probably worse than actually being in chemo.
Really?
Yes, given the medications and the drugs and the aches and the pains and the fear of recurrence, it really plays with your mind a lot.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to this.
Yes.
So just with diagnoses in general, when people are given that diagnosis, I feel like for myself, and you kind of mentioned this, it will put you in this state of paralysis.
Yeah.
That And I think from my friends, I seem to be a few of my friends, and just even my father, it's not cancer, but a different diagnosis. All of a sudden, they give up their power and it's given straight to the doctor, like, you know what's best for me. And so how did you navigate this? Because you, as you mentioned in your book, you are the CEO of your own health.
It was, I pulled myself up and I decided the first thing I did is I went on Amazon. I was heading home in 10 days. I went on Amazon and I ordered a binder, and a very pretty binder, by the way. It had to be pretty. And I ordered dividers, and I decided that I was going to use what I've done in business and turn that into my what I call the Healing Rebel protocol. And I was going to advocate, and I was going to be the CEO of my own health. So the first thing that I did is I ordered this binder, and when I got back home, I collected all the data. So I collected all the past data that I had had. I put together everything in my family, everything that they had had on an Excel spreadsheet. And then I put together agenda and objectives for the first meeting. And I had also done, since I went into the portal, so I knew what kind of cancer I had. We were awaiting pathology, but I knew what I had. And so I had researched it to the nth degree, and listened to YouTube videos and podcasts. So I had all of this data that I went into that first meeting, and I had 45 questions. And I handed out my agenda, and I handed out the objectives. And the doctor's face was somewhat shocked, because I'm like, here we go. Here's your agenda, and here's that. And then I did it the old school way. I wrote the answers down because I wanted to ensure and make sure that I was getting the right protocol for my cancer
And when you
versus,
say that,
yeah,
you mean versus just a one size fits all type protocol.
exactly. What I wanted to do was, how I define it, the McDonald's menu. When you go into McDonald's, you go, I want a number one, I want a number two.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it is in the cancer world, right? You have breast cancer, you're going to get number one. You have ovarian cancer, you're going to get number two. And my answer was, no, I want a piece of number one and a piece of number two and a piece of number three in that menu, because I want it customized for me. And that was the most important thing for me. I was 51 years old,
Wow.
right? And so I got cancer 10 years before my mother, 10 years before my sister, who had already passed from cancer. And so I was so much younger. And it started off also, Priya, with one thing. I didn't want to die. So I was going to do everything in my power to elongate my life and get the best medicine that I can get for myself.
Wow. I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. And how did the doctors respond to you? Because I think, we were talking a little bit before, and there's pushback and I've seen it with my dad. When he got diagnosed with a Parkinsonism, and I went to the doctor saying, we need a referral here, took total offense to it. And so how did your doctors respond to this?
So I think it was the fact that I actually had no emotion whatsoever, which was shocking, because honestly, there was a lot of emotion, and I spent many days, trust me, crying in the shower, because that was my favorite place to cry, because nobody can hear me. But I came in, I literally put on a business suit and had my binder and came in with very clear, and I was very concise, and I didn't talk about, I wasn't emotional. I didn't waste their time. It was, here's my symptoms, here's my objectives, go away and come back to me. And then we're going to talk about all the different things when you come back and tell me what my protocol is going to be. And we're going to negotiate. And I negotiated quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right. And to be very honest, there were some things I did not win on. So when they said to me, I already knew that I likely had to do chemo.
Okay.
Okay. But I didn't want to do it. And so I walked into the doctor's office, and with, all my paperwork, and I knew even what kind of chemo I was going to have. And I kind of knew also, I pretty much thought I kind of knew how many chemos I would actually have to do as well. So I was very prepared because I had done so much research. And I walked in and she said, you're going to have to do chemo. And I said, no, I don't want to. And she said to me, do you want to die? And I said, no, I don't want to die. So she looked at me and I go, well, I guess I'm doing chemo. And
Okay.
I only didn't want to do it because I didn't want to lose my hair, to be very honest, extremely vain. But those were the kind of conversations that we had. Like I was so fact-based with her and so clear and with my objectives that she came back to me with very raw responses, right? Telling a patient, do you want to die? It's
Right.
very unexpected, but she also didn't sugarcoat anything for me.
And the fact that I think by you advocating for yourself and showing up like a CEO to your doctor, you got listened to, which I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, I'm hearing it in the menopause world. Women are going and talking about their symptoms and doctors aren't listening, saying, here, do this one thing that we're giving to everybody. And
Yeah.
they go dismissed and unheard. So the fact that you showed up like a boss is so inspiring.
Well, even on the menopause front.
Yeah.
So obviously, I was put into menopause, right? I was put into menopause. So one day I had my period, and the next day I didn't.
With the
And then
treatment?
yeah, so
Yeah.
chemo ended up putting me into menopause, and then I ended up opting. Well, then I was doing. They were doing a shot to shut my ovaries off, and eventually I decided to take my ovaries out because that was another thing that I advocated for. I wanted every single organ that I didn't need out of my body. And so even on the front, so suddenly now I'm in menopause and I'm getting hot sweats like you can't believe. And every 10 minutes, my neck is completely red. And I did research and I found a drug that was a non-HRT.
Okay.
And I went to my doctor and I said, you need to prescribe this to me. And she's like, I've never even heard of this drug. So that is a great example. I've never heard of this
Wow.
drug, right? And the drug was coming. So what happens is it comes into the US first and then Canada picks it up a bit later. But her answer was, well, I don't even know this drug. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I need you to prescribe it to me, right? And because it has a CGRP in it and blocks the barrier of your brain, but it has no HRT.
Right.
And I started taking the drug, and guess what? No night sweats, no hot flashes, right? So that's another, I leaned in and I pushed hard, which is what I'm still doing now.
Yeah.
I'm pushing hard every day. When you finish up your chemo and you're kind of like in that next step, sometimes your oncologist wants to fire you. And mine tried. And I said, no,
Oh
I'm
my
not
God, I
going
love it.
anywhere.
I absolutely love your advocacy.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I mean, you can fire me, but I'm going to keep coming back
Yeah.
because I'm on this drug now called letrozole that is half killing me. And there's new drugs that I see that are starting to hit, the FDA, and I want to get on those drugs. So I'm staying with you because I refuse to get off the letrozole because of my fear of recurrence.
Yeah.
But we're staying together. So I mean, too bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm noticing from you and just talking with you is that you set your standard. A lot of times,
Yes.
the standard of care is set for us. Why do you
Yes.
think so many people don't challenge that standard of care?
I think it's really simple. I think you're so fearful inside,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's fear. And I think the doctors come in and they don't have enough time to sit down and talk with you. And they talk in doctor language. And you're so overwhelmed, which is why I talk about in my book that it's really important early on that you set up your executive team. Now, your executive board team. And it's a series of putting doctors on that team, right? Your oncologist, and I had a naturopath. I mean, I went really very wide in terms of who was on my executive team. But you also have to have people on there. So it could be friends or family. If you can't advocate for yourself, you need to lean into other people that can, right? So I would bring my husband to every meeting and he would sit in the corner and giggle because he's like, I don't even know why I'm here. Because these guys have no idea what's happening right now. You are taking control, and he himself is a CEO, and he was just laughing. He couldn't believe it. He'd walk out and he'd be like, this is incredible. I've never seen anything. They have no idea. You're handing out paperwork, and next thing you know, they're sending you off on a scan that's non-standard. And he said it was incredible.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. I even thinking about my dad, I was mentioning to you, I've been doing a lot of research, and they call me their drill sergeant. And
Yeah.
one of the things with this Parkinsonism, it's connected to heavy metal. So I said, text your doctor and get a heavy metal blood work up, and then a gut biome, and this and this and this,
Yeah.
all from this other alternative doctor. And my mom was like, no, we can't ask for that. And I'm like, ask for it. And she goes, it's unprofessional. And I said, why would you think it's unprofessional?
Why?
You can ask for these things. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you need to. And I think the doctors are I find that they're a bit more open to it because they need the help,
Yep.
right? And because they're so overwhelmed. And that's part of the problem. They're so overwhelmed that they are seeing patient to patient to patient. So again, that's why they're using, I call it the McDonald's menu.
Yeah.
And then they get other patients, like they'll get me, where the amount of time they spent with me was actually incredible. Because not only did we discuss all my protocols and all the things I wanted, but then I built a relationship with them. I can tell you how many children they have. I can tell you where they go to school. And you build this relationship with them that also, when you pick up the phone to call them or ask for something, they're more likely to say yes
Yeah.
because you have to be kind. And I was so kind and so respectful, even when I was frustrated and upset. I really kept it together.
I want to talk about the Healing Rebel Protocol, which you talk about in your book. So
Yes.
talk about your book, because I am definitely going to grab a copy of it.
Oh, I love it. So the protocol really is 6 steps, and it's really about how I went ahead. So building your agenda, building your objectives, building your what I call your executive boardroom team, right? Getting your stuff together. So now it's a bit on the morbid side because the minute I got diagnosed, I said, okay, in a sense, it's a death sentence. Well, what can I do to make it easier for my husband and my daughter? And so I literally went and put all of our stuff, all of our passcodes, all of our banking, gave her power. My 23-year-old has power of attorney over everything, which is probably scary, but really did that on purpose, right? So that if something was to happen, their lives can go on.
Right.
And I can make it simple. So it talks a lot about that too. And then it talks about building your community, right? Going on to Facebook groups, learning. I learned so much on these Facebook groups. And that's actually what was why I wrote this book. I'd go on these Facebook groups and I would start blogging about my day, about what I ate, what I didn't eat, the exercise. And I would get such incredible responses from people. And that encouraged me, which was another part of my book that I talk about. So I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not anything of that sort, but nutrition, I love that you talked about heavy metals.
Yeah.
Because I literally live on the medical medium, if you've ever read it.
Oh, yeah.
And I talk about my diet and my protocols and the cleansing that I did. And also the other thing that saved me was exercise and the importance of that and what I did. And throughout chemo, I exercised. I never stopped. And it really helped me maintain myself because you lose yourself, right? You really do lose yourself.
And then also you talk about, I love that you talk about snark instead of traditional support groups. I love the word snark. I just used it
Yeah.
last week. So share more about that.
Well, so everything I wrote had an 80s theme and was very snarky.
I love it.
And it was very raw, right?
Yeah.
But I would also relate it to music and I would relate it to 80s themes movies. And it was like I built like this platform that when I stopped writing, because sometimes I was tired, people would reach out and go, "Are you okay? We need to see your writing. We want your writing. It helps us."
Yeah.
Right? Because it's funny and it's snarky and you make fun of yourself all the time I talked about my brain fog when I would get into a car and I wouldn't know where I was going, and what life after cancer has been like. And I referred it to the movie Getting Out of Bed. It takes me an hour in the morning because of the aches and pains.
Yeah.
But I laugh about it. And I think that really does help with your healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And what is the name of your book?
It's called Fuck Cancer.
Fuck Cancer.
Commanding your comeback when your body has turned on you.
Oh my God, what a powerful title.
Well, because that's what it was for me.
Yeah.
I ate well, I exercised, I did everything, and it did not matter. I got cancer,
Yeah.
and aggressive cancer. So it was very hard. It was very, very hard to understand and really kind of forgive my body for, in a sense, what it did to me.
Wow. And can this book be, I mean, can somebody who doesn't have cancer but maybe is wants support with advocacy for other
Yes,
conditions, like I mentioned, my dad and Parkinsonism, can it help in that sense?
100%.
Amazing.
So it's a protocol, right? So it doesn't matter if you have cancer. I used it with my dad who had Alzheimer's. It doesn't matter. You can use it for Alzheimer's, you can use it for Parkinson's, you can use it for kidney failure, whatever it might be. It's really about how you approach your doctors and how you lean in and really take agency. And that's the most important part, right? And sometimes you're going to get what you want, sometimes you're not, but that's okay. But you can also keep coming back and asking in a different way
This is a prime
because
example of unmuting to
it,
lower
a
yourself.
hundred percent. I was completely unmuted. I leaned into it, but it was like a bit of an out of body experience, right?
Yeah.
Because I really said, this is going to be the most important consulting project I've ever done in my career, and it's going to be me.
Wow.
And so if I approach it with that, right, and using all the tools that I've gathered in my brain for years, let's see if it works. And it did, right? And it was hard at times, like I said, but it really worked. And I think it set a different conversation with the doctor, that it was more strategic and it was less about them educating me. It
Okay.
was more about us going back and forth. So I had a list day by day of all my symptoms that I had when I was going through chemo in an Excel spreadsheet, day by day. And I would just hand it to them, and on the bottom would say, okay, so here's the things we need to solve for. I have terrible mouth sores, right? I have this. So it was very, very, it was very clear and very precise. So I wasn't wasting their time.
Wow. This book sounds like it's going to support so many people.
I hope so.
Yeah. Did you continue to work through this journey of?
So it's kind of a funny story. So I was, I was working in the beginning, and then I was taking a lot of time off, and I felt very guilty. So I decided to go on leave of absence,
Okay.
and but I tried to stay on a client. So on the side, I was on a client,
Okay.
and so I was doing chemo, and then I was flying to Portland, putting on my wig, doing what I do,
Wow.
and HR called me and said, "What are you doing? You cannot be on leave of absence and work." Because I wasn't billing anything
Yeah.
except my
Yeah.
expenses. And they said to me, like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, you could sue us, right? You can say that we forced you to work. I'm like, oh, I would never do that. Just, send me a piece of paper and I'll release you. And they're like, you need to choose. Are you working or are you not? And so as I was going through that decision, if I keep working or not, we unfortunately had a home invasion.
Mm.
And I think after the home invasion and the chemo and the illnesses of my parents, I said, you know what? I need to stop because I need to focus on me and my family because so much was coming at me at the same time. So I went on to leave of absence.
Because you experienced the loss of your parents and
Yes.
so much at the same time.
So when I should have been celebrating my last chemo, I was eulogizing my mother. When I should have celebrated 6 months later the end of my Herceptin treatment, I was eulogizing my father. So much was going on that I just, I said I needed to take a bit of a time out. And I think it was my sliding door
Yeah.
to say, I think I had a great career. It was phenomenal, but I was never present, right? So I was the type of person that I was the mom that came to, I was always at parent teacher interview, but my suitcase was with me. I went to every recital, but I was on my phone. And so I was there, but I wasn't present. And I think this gave me the opportunity to say, I need to stop and I need to become present and I need to enjoy life. And I think it was that moment that I said, you know, I need to be doing something different, which is leaning in and helping people advocate.
Absolutely. That's a huge mission. And you may have shared this in the beginning. So you said you're still on this journey of healing. You're still getting chemo, correct? So
I'm not doing chemo anymore. I'm doing something called Zometa,
okay.
which is to reduce the risk of bone cancer. But I'm still on this journey and I will be probably, you know, forever.
I'm so glad that you're with me today to share
Thank
your
you.
story, and you are changing lives just as you speak. I'm so many people that I can share this with.
Thank you.
So for somebody maybe who's listening to this episode who's received a serious diagnosis, something and they're in this place like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What's the first thing that you can share that they should focus on?
Take a step back, breathe, and go on and really order a binder and start collecting the information. I think that is the best thing. And then the other thing I would say to everybody is find your village. That is so important. My friends were with me during chemo. My husband came to the first one. And then I said, no, I did a sign up sheet because when do you ever get to spend 8 hours with a girlfriend? And we had the best time. And do that and lean into your village. It's so important for the people, for you and for the people that show up. It's incredible. I am every day, I thank my lucky stars.
I feel like that coming back to that and people and connection and relationships is what it's all about, not the phone
Yeah.
and the computers and all of that stuff.
No, just spending that time. And there's going to be some people that are going to go away and they're going to go out of your life. And that's okay. They probably shouldn't have been there anyways. It's okay to do like a little bit of spring cleaning.
Yeah.
And there's new ones that may pop in, but it's the ones that really show up. Those are the ones that you really want in your orbit. And that was incredible for me.
Wow, Farla. Now, in addition to the book, do you offer other support, coaching, or like any kind of groups or Zooms?
So
or
it,
anything?
yeah, so in addition to the book, we have some workbooks with the book. So all the agendas are there, all the materials are there, and obviously I have a social media platform that if people want to reach out to me directly, absolutely, I can help them and coach them through any and all of it. And it would be my absolute pleasure to do that because it's so important in this world, especially to really get the right protocols
Absolutely.
and the things that are right for you. Because that's really the difference between living and dying.
Wow, we'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes so that everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And, you've shared so much of what you've gone through. What's one thing that's brought you unexpected joy during this difficult time? I mean, you shared the connection with your girlfriends, but is there anything else that you've done that you just found like, hey, this brings me such joy?
I think advocating and talking about it and sharing has really brought me so much joy. My family and writing this book, it was like a labor of love. I never thought I would be writing a book about cancer. I thought I'd be writing a book about retail turnaround. And so it's really shocking in many. I mean, if you look me up, you'll see it's all retail everything. So I think it's been really exciting, and to see how people respond to it, it's been even more exciting to see. And all I want to do is just lean in and help people. One person, that's good enough for me.
Amazing. Farla, it's been absolutely incredible to have you on this show. Every time I have a guest on, I think, wow, that was powerful. And then another one, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is just life changing. So thank you. Thank you for helping others to unmute. You are the example of that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And this show is brought to you by Project Icon.